The Power of Purpose. The Knight's Honor Principles, Volume 5. Goal Getter's Code. By Kenny Knight III. Read by Rick Gines. Disclaimer. This is a truthful recollection of the author's life experiences. To protect the privacy of individuals, some names and identifying details have been changed. This book is not meant to be used, nor should it be used, to diagnose or treat any medical or psychological condition. Readers are advised to consult their own medical advisors whose responsibility it is to determine the condition of and the best treatment for the reader. Prologue. Flying Blind. When I stepped into boot camp at 17, I thought I had it all figured out. All I knew was that I wanted to be a Marine. That was it. I didn't know what it took. I didn't know how much, but I was sure I did. That confidence mixed with ignorance is a dangerous thing. I didn't have goals. Not really. I had desires, ideas, dreams. I want to be a Marine. I want to be a drill instructor. I want to retire someday, but no plan, no roadmap, no steps to get there. So I winged it. I reacted. I survived the moment and hoped the future would sort itself out. Because I was winging it, I got into trouble. A lot. I don't even want to count how many times I had to drop and give 20, drop and give 50, whatever they called for each time. I followed orders, sure, but I did it with an attitude. The drill instructors saw it. They heard it. I was loud, hot-headed, restless. I was always testing something. Authority, myself, limits. There was one DI who took me. You could tell. Sometimes a strict man sees himself in a kid and decides to invest. I remember BWT, Basic Warrior Training, Field Ops, the long days, the race to chow. We'd march in formation, move at route step, then the DIs would call, "Go!" and everybody would push for the door. I could run, fast. One day they told us, "Go!" My DI, Sergeant Melcher, was leading the pack. I tore off to be first in the door. I got there shoulder to shoulder with a recruit from another platoon, and what started as a sprint turned into a shoving match at the entry. Pushing, cursing, adrenaline. Then a DI hat crashed through the crowd, and in a blink I was on my back, knocked flat. Before I could do anything, the DI had my collar and was yelling, blood pumping, ears ringing. Sergeant Melcher pushed through. He looked at the other DI and said, cool as ice, "I got him." He pulled me aside and asked, straight and quiet, "Did that drill instructor hurt you?" "No, sir," I said. Melcher looked at me, then said, "Good job. Keep doing what you're doing. And if that drill instructor ever touches you again, I'll F him up." I didn't know how to take it. Melcher was one of the meanest DIs around, the kind of man you learn to fear respect from. But in that moment, he showed me something else. He'd seen whatever it was in me and chose to back it. He saw potential in the mess. Years later, standing in front of recruits as a drill instructor myself, I understood exactly what he'd seen. I found the same ruthless, hot-headed kids staring back at me in certain new faces. I took to them the way Melcher took to me. Not because I wanted to coddle them, but because I recognized the weapon they could become if somebody gave them a direction. The difference between chaos and purpose is a plan. It's not just wanting something, it's knowing how to get there. Without goals, you're flying blind. You move, you make noise, you survive. With goals, you move with intent. You stop getting knocked on your back and start getting up for a reason. This book is about putting that aim on your life. Not just dreaming, planning. Not just moving, targeting. If you want armor, you better know what you're fighting for. If you want to be sharpened, you better know why you swing the blade. Because when you set goals, you stop drifting. You start driving. Chapter 1. Why you need goals. Every cycle as a drill instructor had its lessons. Not just for the recruits, but for me too. One in particular stands out because it perfectly shows why having a goal matters. See, every day after we marched the recruits to the chow hall, they'd get their trays first. They'd sit down, start eating, and then the drill instructors would go through the line. There's an unspoken rule. The recruits must be done before the drill instructors finish their food. That's their goal. Recruits know that once the drill instructor stands up, they better be outside, standing at attention, ready to move. So they learn to eat with speed and focus. That's how the Marine Corps builds urgency and purpose. Every little thing has intent behind it. Now, this one particular day, I sat my recruits down, went through the line, and sat at the drill instructor's table. We always sit together, separate from the recruits, our own table, our own space. The recruits know not to get too close unless they want to feel the wrath of every drill instructor in the room. That week, my platoon was on service duty, chow hall week. Their job was to work in the chow hall, serving food, cleaning trays, wiping down tables, doing whatever needed to be done to keep the place running for the other platoons. So we're sitting there eating, and out of nowhere, this bird starts flying around the chow hall. Now, if you've never been in a chow hall, let me tell you, those places are huge. High ceilings, tons of space. That bird was free as could be, just circling around like it owned the place. A few minutes later, one of my recruits comes over. He stops just short of the drill instructor table, which was smart on his part, and says, "Drill Instructor Sergeant Knight, there's a bird in the chow hall." I looked at him and yelled with drill instructor sarcasm, "Well, no shit, asshole. Next time I see you, you better have it in your freaking hands." Now, I didn't think that much of it. I just tossed out a sarcastic order, the way drill instructors do. But that recruit, he took it to heart. I'd given him a goal, and in that moment, he locked onto it like his life depended on it. About 10 minutes later, the same recruit came back over, hands cupped together, standing there at attention. I said, "What the hell do you have in your hands, recruit?" He said, "Drill Instructor Sergeant Knight." I looked closer, and sure enough, inside his hands was that damn bird. I don't know how he did it. To this day, I still don't know how that kid caught that bird in a massive chow hall with ceilings 20 feet high and 1,000 places to hide. But he did. Before he could say another word, I yelled, "Get the hell away from me, asshole! Get that bird out of my chow hall!" The other drill instructors and I just stared at each other, shaking our heads. We couldn't believe it. That recruit had done the impossible because he had one clear goal: catch the bird. And that's the thing about goals. They give you direction, they give you focus, they give you power. When you have a goal, your brain doesn't wander. You don't waste time. You don't second-guess yourself. You move, you act, you adjust, you figure it out, one way or another. That recruit wasn't faster, stronger, or smarter than anyone else in the chow hall, but in that moment, he had something most people go through life without: a target. Without a goal, you'll chase everything and catch nothing. With a goal, you'll chase one thing and catch it, even if it's a bird flying circles above your head. That's why goals matter. They turn motion into direction. They give purpose to your effort. And when you've got that, nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop you. Chapter 2. Defining your mission. In the infantry, nothing was left to chance. You didn't wander into a place you didn't understand and hope for the best. You gathered the facts, figured the enemy situation, and built a plan to move. Every detail counted. If you missed something, people paid for it. That kind of clarity breeds discipline. That's how you win. This is where I learned to define a mission. Not a vague wish or a half-hearted want. A mission. A target with teeth. The Marine Corps taught us to collect the facts and then turn them into action. 2 acronyms did that work for me: SALUTE and SMEAC. Those 2 lines of thought turned chaos into plan. They built the backbone of how I set goals in life, business, and in how I raised my kids. Everything I do now has intent. Every action has reason. SALUTE even inspired the name of my supplement company, because whether you're entering a fight or a meeting, you should know what you're up against. Here is how those military tools translate into a civilian, no-bullshit method to define your mission and execute it. SALUTE. The recon for your goal. SALUTE is reconnaissance. It tells you what you're facing, not the fuzzy wish of, "I want more," but the cold facts. S. Size. Scope of the problem or opportunity. Is this a small swing or a full-scale campaign? A. Activity. What's happening right now? What is the target doing? L. Location. Where does this play out? Physical place, market, or mental space? U. Unit. Who's involved? Your team, your competitors, your family. T. Time. When is this happening? Deadlines, windows of opportunity. E. Equipment. What tools, money, skills, or resources are in play? Do this. Before you set a goal, run a salute report. Write one line for each item. This removes fantasy and replaces it with reality. SMEAC. Turn recon into a plan. SMEAC gives structure to action. It converts the salute intel into a mission brief you can execute. S. Situation. Where are you now? Who's the enemy? Distractions, debt, time, lack of skill. Pull the facts from your salute. M. Mission. One simple, clear statement telling exactly what success looks like. 2 sentences max. E. Execution. Step-by-step plan. Milestones, sequences, the how. This is usually the longest section because execution is where wars are won. A. Administration and logistics. Resources, budgets, backup plans, training, tools, meals, sleep, whatever keeps the machine running. C. Command and signal. Who's in charge? Who reports to who? How will you communicate progress and changes? Check-ins, deadlines, metrics. Do this. Write a SMEAC for every major goal. If it's a 90-day project, your execution section should break the 90 days into weekly and daily tasks. If it's life level, pick the next 12 months and then the next 90 days. How I applied it, from infantry to life. When I was an infantryman, Salute told me everything the enemy did, the size of their unit, equipment they had, what time they moved. SMEAC turned that into a plan to assault or withdraw. Same thing with parenting, business, or writing a book. Example, becoming a drill instructor. Salute, size, 1 promotion away. Activity, working late, inconsistent study. Location, stationed in base training. Unit, mentors available. Time, within 18 months. Equipment, leadership courses, study materials. SMEAC mission, within 18 months I will qualify and be promotable for drill instructor duty. Execution, enroll in the course by X date. Study 3 hours per week, seek mentorship, pass fitness and leadership evals. Admin logistics, save X dollars for travel, arrange childcare, secure study materials. Command and signal, weekly check-in with mentor, monthly progress report. The plan is simple, the work is not. But once you have that mission set, the steps follow and the excuses get smaller. Practical template, use this now. Fill this out in the next 20 to 30 minutes. Don't overthink, be honest. Mission statement, 1 line. Example, in 90 days I will increase Rage Fitness membership revenue by 20%. Complete the salute section, size, activity, location, unit, time, and equipment. The SMEAC section, situation or current reality. Mission, what success looks like. Execution, milestones and tasks by week. Week 1, Week 2, Week 3, and so forth. Admin logistics, resources, budget, schedule. Command and signal, who's accountable, how often we check. Do this for every major goal. Tighten the language until the mission stings. Short, clear, and non-negotiable. Common mistakes and fixes. Mistake, your mission is vague. For example, I want to be better. Fix, make it specific, time-bound, and measurable. I will increase my bench press by 40 pounds in 12 weeks. Mistake, no recon. You guess at obstacles. Fix, salute first. Be honest about who or what you're up against. Mistake, execution is fuzzy. Fix, break the job down into weekly and daily tasks. If it's not on your calendar, it's not real. Mistake, no accountability. Fix, set command and signal, a mentor, coach, or partner who'll call you out and hold you to the plan. Final word. Defining your mission is the difference between wandering and winning. Recon with salute. Plan with SMEAC. Execute like hell. That's how you stop reacting to life and start directing it. You won't always hit it perfect. You'll adjust, but a man with a mission corrects his course fast and keeps moving forward. That's what direction looks like. That's what goals give you: a map, a purpose, and a reason to keep your head in the game. Chapter 3. Breaking the Goal Down. In combat, missions aren't won by chance. They're won by breaking down big objectives into small, clear, executable tasks. That truth hit me hard during one of my combat tours in Somalia. We were sent there on what was supposed to be a humanitarian mission. General Adid and his forces were hoarding food, keeping civilians starved and desperate. Our job was to help secure the area so food could reach the people who needed it. But like most simple missions, it didn't stay that way. Somalia became the place where I earned my second combat action ribbon, because things got real. You didn't get that ribbon by showing up. You got it because you got shot at, and you shot back. We were there for a long stretch, and at one point, we were tasked with a 96-hour patrol, 4 straight days of rotating shifts, no real rest, just cycles of movement, planning, and execution. We had about 8 sergeants and 2 corporals leading patrols. I was one of the corporals, along with another Marine named Corporal Broden. We were the senior corporals, next in line for promotion, which meant more responsibility and more eyes on us. The way the patrols worked was brutal but effective. 2 hours to prep, gather intel, check equipment, brief the men. 2 hours on patrol, boots on the ground, eyes scanning, clearing streets, checking buildings, securing sectors. 2 hours of sleep, if you could even call it sleep, then right back up to start again. And that cycle went on for 4 days straight. At one point, we took sniper fire. I'll never forget the sound. Not what you'd expect from Hollywood movies. The rounds didn't sound like gunshots. They cracked and snapped, like those little fireworks you throw on the ground that pop when they hit. Only these snaps were real bullets slamming into the wall right beside my head. You could feel the air move with each one. We fired back, took cover, and pushed through. Later during that same patrol, we discovered a bunker, a hidden cache loaded with ammunition and weapons. We confiscated everything, turned it in, and locked down that area. That operation earned us awards, but more importantly, it taught me something I still use today. You can't complete a mission unless you break it down into smaller, winnable pieces. If we had gone into that 96-hour patrol without structure, without breaking it into chunks of prep, action, and rest, we wouldn't have lasted 24 hours. We would have burned out, gotten sloppy, made mistakes. Breaking it down kept us sharp. It gave the chaos order. It gave the impossible a system. That's exactly how goals work. Too many people set big goals like, I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to start a business, or I want to change my life. And then they wonder why they never get there. It's not that the goal's too big. It's that they didn't break it down. They tried to take the hill all at once instead of one step at a time. Here's the reality. You can't complete a 96-hour mission in one push. You can't build a company in a single day. You can't rebuild your body or your life overnight. You need structure. You need phases. You need to break that monster goal down into small, clear, daily wins. The combat method for goal execution. Set the big mission. This is your main target, the overall goal, your 96-hour patrol. Example, lose 30 pounds, launch a business, write a book. Divide the mission into phases. Split it into chunks you can realistically execute. Phase 1, preparation, gather what you need. Phase 2, movement, take consistent action. Phase 3, review, adapt, correct, refocus. Define your patrol cycle. In the field, we worked in 2-hour rotations to stay alert and consistent. In life, you can do the same. Break your day or week into blocks. 2 hours of focused work, 30 minutes of review, 15 minutes of rest and reset. Track progress daily. We logged every patrol detail, where we went, what we saw, what we found. Track your goals the same way. Write down what you did each day. Even one small action matters. Adjust fire when needed. In combat, plans change fast. You learn to adapt without losing sight of the mission. Same goals for your goals. If something's not working, change tactics, not targets. When we finally finished that 96-hour patrol, we were exhausted. Filthy, sunburned, eyes bloodshot, but we'd completed the mission. We found the enemy's weapons, neutralized the threat, and made it home. That mission taught me that breaking things down isn't about making them easier. It's about making them possible. You want to build something great? Break it down. You want to survive the chaos? Break it down. You want to win? Break it down. That's how you stay alive in combat, and that's how you move forward in life. Chapter 4. Discipline over motivation. I have to thank the Marine Corps for teaching me discipline. I won't take credit for being disciplined while I was in, because in the Marine Corps, you don't have a choice. You practice discipline every single day, all day long, whether you want to or not. Somebody is always watching you. Somebody is always telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. You don't get to skip a formation or slack off on a field op. You don't get to feel like doing something. You just do it. So no, I don't take credit for that kind of discipline. That's enforced discipline. But it taught me what real discipline looks like. Real discipline, the kind that changes your life, starts when nobody's watching. Discipline is doing what you said you would do, with enthusiasm, even when no one's there to tell you to. That's the kind of discipline I've carried with me into civilian life, into business, into fatherhood, and into every corner of who I am today. When I got out of the Marine Corps, there was no one waking me up anymore. No drill instructor screaming in my face. No platoon sergeant making sure I was squared away. The only person left to hold me accountable was me. And that's when I realized discipline is a decision. No one makes me get up at 3:30 every morning. No one makes me show up at my gym before sunrise to clean, to set up the workout boards, to check the equipment, to replace water bottles, to vacuum the mats. No one tells me I have to do personal training sessions, or run classes, or handle supplement orders, or answer messages from clients, or check in on my Rage Kids Levels Up program at the schools. No one tells me I have to be at the gym until 9:30 every night to close, but I do it every single day. Not because someone's watching, not because someone's grading me, but because I said I would. That's discipline. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not motivational quotes and hype songs. It's consistency. It's showing up when you're tired. It's finishing what you start. It's doing the little things that nobody sees, the things that build your life brick by brick. When people tell me, "You're so motivated, man," I tell them, "No, I'm disciplined." Because motivation fades. Motivation depends on emotion, and emotion changes like the wind. You're not going to be motivated every day. Hell, most days you won't be. But discipline, that's the muscle that keeps moving when your mind says stop. Discipline is what gets you up when you'd rather sleep in. Discipline is what pushes you through the reps when your body's screaming to quit. Discipline is what reminds you of your purpose when your feelings get in the way. That's what the Marine Corps taught me. Not the kind of discipline that's handed to you, but the kind you build when no one's watching. Now, in business, I still apply it every single day. I make sure the bills are paid. I make sure every client is taken care of. I make sure the doors open on time, the lights come on, and the mission gets carried out, no matter how tired I am. That's the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation talks, discipline acts. Motivation fades, discipline endures. Motivation starts something, discipline finishes it. The Marine Corps may have made me practice discipline, but life after the Corps made me own it. And that's what separates people who dream from people who do. The truth is, the people who win in life aren't the most talented, the smartest, or the luckiest. They're the most consistent. They do what they said they would do, no matter what. Chapter 5. Embrace the grind. When I was trying to get Rage Fitness off the ground, there was no team, no investors, no fancy marketing, no social media buzz. It was just me, my wife, my kids, and a dream. I started with nothing but boot camps, no big gym, no expensive equipment, just open ground and raw effort. I remember sitting at my old computer making flyers, nothing special, just plain black and white flyers with bold letters that said, "Boot camp, get stronger, get better." I didn't know a damn thing about design, and I couldn't afford to pay anyone to make them. But I knew I had to get the word out, so I made it happen. Once I printed them, I'd pick them up, stop by the store, grab some rubber bands and staples, and head home. I'd sit the kids down at the kitchen table and we'd go to work, stapling those rubber bands to each flyer one by one. Then we'd load up in the car and head to a neighborhood. I'd tell the big kids, "All right, you take that side of the street." I'd take the little ones with me on the other side, and we'd go door to door, hanging flyers on handles, tucking them under windshield wipers, hitting every house we could. We'd do it for hours. And sometimes we'd go to parking lots, even though I knew it wasn't exactly legal, and we'd hit every car we could, because that's what it took back then. We didn't have Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok to blast out ads or posts. We had our feet and our will. Most days, all that effort would lead to maybe one customer. One. After hours of walking, sweating, and hustling, one person would show up. But that person meant progress. That one person was a brick in the foundation. That's the grind. There were mornings I'd wake up and just feel wrecked, sick, exhausted, body aching, but I'd still take that shot of apple cider vinegar, fix myself a little something to eat, and be at the gym by 4:30 a.m. I'd start my workout even when I felt like garbage, because I knew something. Motion creates momentum. Even when I'm sick, I make myself work out, because it clears my head. And for that hour, I feel better, because once the workout's over, the sickness usually comes roaring back. I remember those days, finishing a workout, then heading home, lying on the couch shaking with chills, wrapped up in a hoodie, teeth chattering. Then 20 minutes later, I'd be sweating through my clothes, peeling that same hoodie off, just for the cycle to start all over again. But as soon as I could stand, I was back down at the gym, back to work. Because the grind doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're sick. It doesn't care if you're broke, stressed, or burnt out. The grind is neutral. It doesn't feel sorry for you. It just sits there, waiting for you to show up, or fall behind. I'd work through the day, come home just long enough to grab another meal, then head back to the gym to run classes until 9 or 10 p.m. Then I'd close up, drag myself home, crash for a few hours, and do it all again the next day. Some nights, I'd lie in bed wondering how long I could keep going like that. But I always knew the answer, as long as it takes. Because that's the thing about chasing something real. You must be willing to hurt for it. You must be willing to get uncomfortable, to fight through the fatigue, to do the things no one sees and no one claps for. People want results, but they don't want the grind. They want success, but they don't want the suffering that comes with it. It's the reason I tell people, don't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. The truth is, if you can learn to show up, especially when you don't feel like it, you're already ahead of 90% of the world. That's where your strength is built. That's where your character grows. That's where your goals stop being dreams and start becoming reality. Because the grind doesn't care how you feel, but the results sure as hell do. Chapter 6. Staying the course, building endurance when the fire fades. When you first start chasing a goal, there's always fire, that spark, that energy that makes you feel unstoppable. You wake up early, you're motivated, you tell yourself this is it. This time it's different. And for a while it is. You're consistent, you're driven, you're all in. But then life hits. That spark starts to dim. The excitement wears off. The days start blending together. The results don't come fast enough. You start questioning if it's worth it. That's when most people quit. But staying the course isn't about how you feel when things are exciting. It's about who you are when things get hard, when the results slow down, when the motivation fades, and when nobody's watching to clap for you. That's when endurance kicks in. I learned endurance in the Marine Corps, the field ops, the ruck marches, the patrols that never seem to end. All of it taught me that fatigue is just a feeling. It's not a command. It's a test. I remember one particular hump, a long-distance march. We had our full gear, rifles, packs, flak, Kevlar, the works. It was hot, humid, and the weight felt like it was crushing my shoulders. Every step hurt. But when you're leading Marines, you can't show weakness. You can't slow down. Because if you slow down, your Marines slow down. And if they slow down, the whole unit slows down. So you just keep stepping, one foot in front of the other. You tune out the pain. You focus on the mission. And eventually, you get there. That's what endurance looks like in life, too. You're going to carry heavy loads, bills, family, business, stress, loss, doubt. Some days it'll hit all at once, and it'll feel like too much. But if you keep stepping, you'll get there. I've had plenty of moments where I wanted to quit, when Rage Fitness was barely staying open, when I was working 14-hour days just to pay rent, when I was running classes for 3 people and wondering if it was worth it. But I never quit, because I knew something. The hard part always comes before the breakthrough. You don't get stronger by coasting. You get stronger by surviving the storms. And I've seen too many people throw in the towel right before they were about to win. They couldn't see it, but they were inches away. One more day, one more rep, one more push, and everything would have changed. That's why endurance matters, because goals aren't accomplished overnight. They're built one day, one decision, one step at a time. So when the fire fades, don't chase motivation. Build endurance. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. Endurance is built. It's forged in the days you don't feel like showing up. And when you learn to endure, you become unstoppable. Stop waiting for things to get easier, and you start getting stronger. You stop relying on excitement, and you start relying on discipline. You understand that the grind is a long game, and the people who win are the ones who simply refuse to stop. Stay the course. Keep your head down. Keep stepping. Because no matter how far off that goal looks, you'll get there, as long as you don't quit walking. I started working out at a really young age, and I've never stopped. There's never been a time in my life where I didn't find a way to train. Even when life got crazy, even when I didn't have a gym or a barbell or any kind of real equipment, I made it happen. If all I had was the ground under me, I'd do push-ups, lunges, or air squats. If I had a wall, I'd do wall sits. If I had a ruck, I'd throw it on my back and march. It didn't matter where I was or what I had. I always found a way. That's what endurance looks like. It's not glamorous. It's not fancy. It's just showing up over and over again, no matter what. In the Marine Corps, there were plenty of days when I knew we had a long march coming up. 10, maybe 20 miles. Full pack, rifle, ammo, gear, the works. Most guys would try to get every minute of sleep they could before a day like that. Not me. I'd get up early and get a workout in before the sun even came up. Sometimes it was simple. Push-ups, crunches, pull-ups if I could find a bar, but I did it. I wanted to be sharper, stronger, and ready for whatever the day was going to throw at me. And when it wasn't early mornings, it was late nights. Sometimes even in the middle of the night. The mission didn't stop me. The schedule didn't stop me. The combat didn't stop me. Even on my combat tours, Desert Storm, Somalia, Iraq, I found ways to train. We didn't have fancy gyms in the middle of the desert or in the middle of a war zone, but we had creativity and grit. I remember once finding an old truck that had been hit. The axle was still intact, so I used it like a barbell. I'd lift it up and down, feeling the grease and sand mix on my hands. Another time, I did pull-ups off the barrel of a tank. We'd find tires, engine blocks, anything heavy enough to challenge us. We called it junkyard-style training, and it was as real as it gets. You'd be covered in dirt and sweat, rounds echoing in the distance, but you'd still be training. That's the mindset. That's the discipline. Because if you can find the strength to push yourself in a war zone, you can damn sure find the strength to push yourself anywhere else. When I got back home, the grind didn't stop. Sometimes I'd go down to my basement with a case of beer, put on some music, and just start lifting. It wasn't about being perfect or sticking to some program. It was about showing up and putting in the work, however I could. That's the thing. Consistency beats perfection every single time. You don't need everything to be ideal. You just need to show up. Over the years, I've trained for a lot. Bodybuilding shows, powerlifting competitions, events, and challenges. But even when there's nothing on the calendar, I still show up and get it done. Because it's not about a goal anymore. It's about identity. It's who I am. If I don't train, I don't feel right. I feel off. Because training has never just been physical for me. It's mental. It's emotional. It's spiritual. They say, sell your body, sell your mind. And they're right. If you give up on the physical grind, your mind follows. You get soft. not just in your body, but in your thoughts, in your focus, in your drive. That's why I still push myself, even when I don't have a reason other than because I said I would. It's endurance. It's staying the course. Even when there's no goal, no trophy, no finish line, I keep going. Because if I stop being me. Chapter 7. The Power of Vision. Seeing Beyond the Struggle. When I was a kid, I didn't appreciate the father I had. I didn't understand him. Back then, I thought he was just hard on me for no reason. Always pushing, always correcting, always expecting more. I thought he was too tough. But now that I'm older, I realize something. He was exactly the father I needed. He wasn't perfect, not even close. He had his own demons, his own flaws, and his own way of handling life. But that's what makes me respect him even more now. He did the best he could with what he had, and he made me strong. As I got older, I started to see my dad differently. I started to recognize that he had his own story. His mom died when he was young, and his dad ran off. He didn't have parents to raise him, no real guidance to show him the way. He had to figure life out on his own. So when I think about how he raised me, the tough love, the hard lessons, the moments where he seemed distant or too firm, I get it now. He wasn't being cruel. He was being the man he knew how to be. He was doing what survival taught him. He didn't know everything, but he knew what it meant to keep going, and that's the part that stuck with me. Because that's life. None of us have all the answers, but we're figuring it out as we go. But the difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck is this. Some people use their pain as a reason to quit, while others use it as a reason to rise. I chose to rise. My dad taught me lessons without even knowing he was teaching them. He showed me what endurance looks like, what struggle looks like, what it means to keep moving forward, even when you've been dealt a rough hand. I used to be angry about the way things were, but now I'm grateful. Because it made me see life differently. It made me recognize that growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from challenge. And that vision, that understanding that struggle shapes you, has carried me through everything I've ever done. When I went into the Marine Corps at 17, I didn't see the big picture. I just wanted to be a Marine. I had no idea what that would mean or what it would take. But somewhere in the middle of boot camp, between the yelling, the push-ups, the long nights, and the exhaustion, something clicked. I realized what they were doing. I realized that all the pressure, all the discipline, all the mental breakdowns, it wasn't meant to destroy me. It was meant to build me. They were breaking me down to rebuild me stronger. And once I saw that, once I had that vision of who I was becoming on the other side, everything changed. I stopped fighting the process and started embracing it. That's when growth really began. That same principle applies to everything: business, fitness, family, life. When you're in the middle of the storm, it's hard to see what it's shaping you into. It's hard to see that the struggle you hate today might be the very thing that saves you tomorrow. Because that's what vision is. It's the ability to see beyond the pain, to know that there's purpose in the process. My dad's struggles helped shape me. The Marine Corps refined me, and life continues to test me. But every step, every hardship, every setback has given me something, a clearer sense of who I am and where I'm going. Vision isn't about seeing what's in front of you. It's about seeing what's possible. It's understanding that who you are now isn't who you have to stay. It's knowing that every hard day is carving out a stronger version of you. It's believing that your story, no matter how messy, broken, or painful, still has power. That's the power of vision. When you learn to see beyond the struggle becomes your strength. Chapter 8. Turning Pain into Purpose. When the struggle becomes your fuel. I've learned something over the years, something a lot of people don't want to admit. Everybody hurts. Everybody struggles. Everybody carries something. Some people have it worse than I ever did. Some people have it easier. And some are fighting battles just as heavy or heavier than mine ever were. But here's the truth I had to grow into. It's not about comparing pain. It's about what you do with it. Pain is personal. Struggle is personal. What shapes you isn't how big or small your suffering is. It's whether you let it build you or break you. As an adult, some of the hardest things I've dealt with aren't even my own pain. It's watching others go through things. It's seeing the fight in people who shouldn't have had to fight at all. It's witnessing loss. Every combat tour I served changed me. Not because of what happened to me, but because of what happened to the men beside me. I've lost friends, brothers, good men. Men who were stronger than me in some ways, braver than me in others. Men who didn't get to come home. And that reality, it does something to you. It rewires your purpose. It sharpens your focus. It removes all the bullshit from life. Because now when I struggle, when I hesitate, when fear starts creeping into my decision-making, I remember them. I remember the guys who don't get to struggle anymore. The ones who would give anything to have one more chance to wake up, breathe air, feel sunlight, hold their kids, or chase their goals. I think about that, and suddenly my fear looks stupid. My hesitation looks weak. My excuses fall apart. What am I afraid of? I'm still here. I still have a shot. So I push harder. I grind harder. I chase life harder. Because they can't. Because if they were here, I know damn well they'd be doing something great. So I owe it to them to do the same. Pain matured me. Not because I had it the worst, but because I learned to respect what pain teaches. I learned to stop letting it hold me back. You can carry your pain like an anchor or like a weapon. One drags you down, the other makes you unstoppable. So I choose to make mine into fuel. I choose to use it, to learn from it, to grow from it. And I refuse to let it trap me, chain me, or convince me I couldn't move forward. Because I've witnessed real toughness, real struggle, real survival. And once you've seen that, once you've seen what human beings can actually endure, life gets a whole lot simpler. Suddenly, the opinions of strangers don't matter. Embarrassment isn't a thing. The fear of failure feels tiny. Because you start asking yourself, what is any of this really worth if I'm hiding from life? And the answer isn't always the same. It's not. One of the greatest lessons in life comes with age. When you're young, you think everyone is watching you. You think people are judging you. You're terrified of looking stupid or failing in front of someone. Then you hit middle age and realize most people are too busy with their own families, their own bills, their own responsibilities to care about what you're doing. But when you get older, really older, you realize the truth. Nobody was ever thinking about you at all. They were too busy thinking about themselves. All that time you spent worrying about how you looked, how you sounded, what people thought. It was wasted, completely wasted, because everyone else was worried about their own image, their own insecurities, their own fears. So the only thing left to do is push forward, with intention, with purpose, with zero fear. Because if you're lucky enough to still be here, then you still got time to become someone who you're meant to be. This is what turning pain into purpose looks like. You stop letting life dictate your pace. You stop letting fear drive your decisions. You stop letting struggle define you. And you start using every hardship, every scar, every loss, every memory as a reminder of why you keep going. Purpose born from pain is powerful. It's durable. It's unbreakable. And it becomes your armor, your knight's armor. Chapter 9. Direction over speed. Move with purpose, not panic. For a long time, I thought the faster I moved, the quicker I'd win. I thought momentum meant speed. I thought progress meant announcing everything I was planning, hyping it up, getting loud, pushing hard, and sprinting toward whatever goal I had in my head at the moment. I learned the hard way that rushing can destroy more than it builds. I've moved too fast. I've talked too soon. I've hyped things that weren't ready. And I've watched good ideas implode because I was eager for the world to see them before they were strong enough to stand on their own. Speed without direction is chaos. Speed without discipline is destruction. Speed without purpose is wasted energy. Life taught me that lesson early, but I didn't understand it until later. What I've learned over the years is this. It's better to move slow in the right direction than fast in the wrong one, because speed is temporary, but direction is everything. Direction is purpose. Direction is strategy. Direction is knowing why you're doing what you're doing, not just running because running feels like progress. When you have direction, you don't need to rush. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need validation from people who don't care about your mission anyway. Direction gives you confidence. Speed gives you anxiety. When I look at my life now, all the things I'm involved in, all the pieces I'm building, I see something that took me years to understand. Everything I'm doing feeds the same animal, the Knight's Armor principles. Rage Fitness, Salute Supplements, my personal training, my coaching, the Bod Pod, the Youth Level Up program. Every message, every class, every book, every client, every story, they're not random, they're not separate, they're not scattered. They're all part of the same mission, the same purpose, the same direction. It just took time, years, to see that they were all roots of the same tree. The Marine Corps taught me this more than anything. Have a reason for everything you do. No wasted movement, no blind momentum, no just because. Purpose first, direction second, action third. If you get those out of order, life will correct you real fast. In the Marine Corps, you learn quickly that moving fast without knowing why you're moving will get you lost, hurt, or worse. But moving with clarity, even if it's slow, keeps you alive. It keeps the mission on track. It keeps your men safe. It keeps chaos out of your mind. I learned to apply that to my life long after I left the uniform behind. Now I've learned to cherish the slow build, the quiet grind, the direction over the speed. Everything I'm creating is starting to sync together, not by chance, not by luck, but because there's finally a clear path. And when things begin to align like that, when the pieces start snapping into place, when the mission becomes unified, that's when you know you're moving in the right direction. Not fast, but right. That's far more powerful. I'm letting things come together at their own pace. I'm not forcing it. I'm not rushing it. I'm not sprinting anymore. I'm steady. I'm intentional. I'm aligned. Because I know this, when it all hits, it's going to be one big kaboom. Not because I ran fast, but because I walked with purpose. When I first opened my brick-and-mortar gym, it wasn't even called Rage Fitness. It was Rage Boxing and Fitness, because boxing had always been in my blood. Boxing is my sport. It's the one thing I've loved longer than anything. I grew up inside that mindset, that toughness, that discipline. So naturally, when it came time to open a gym, boxing was the heart of it. We had a full boxing ring on one side, an MMA cage on the other side. We were teaching jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, the whole fight game. I had kids training for USA Boxing, adults coming in for sparring sessions, fighters chasing belts, everyone grinding. We were even fighting on live television, Friday nights on the Mike Stidham Show. My fighters would walk out under the lights, and they represented our gym. It looked like success. It felt like the direction I was supposed to go. But here's the truth. Speed can fool you into thinking you're headed in the right direction. Everything looked loud, exciting, like momentum. But that momentum wasn't leading anywhere. It was just movement. Without even realizing it, I started losing the love for the sport. Not boxing itself, but the business of boxing. The politics, the attitudes, the headaches, the constant babysitting, the financial drain. Fighters want to train. Fighters want to win. But most fighters don't want to pay for training. Their idea of payment is putting your logo on their shorts, asking you to sponsor them, telling you it'll help the gym grow. But none of that pays the rent. None of that buys equipment. None of that feeds a family. You won't keep the lights on with exposure. You won't grow a business with promises. You can't run a gym on someone else's dreams. Slowly, I realized I was gaining fighters but losing clients. I had built a high-energy environment that excited people, but it didn't sustain people. It didn't keep the doors open. That's when I realized something crucial. Just because something feels right doesn't mean it is right. Just because something is fast doesn't mean it's forward. I was moving quickly, hustling, grinding, but I wasn't going in the right direction. And then one day, a business owner friend told me something that hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. Kenny, listen to your clients. They'll tell you the direction you need to go. It was simple, but it was powerful, because he was right. When I slowed down enough to pay attention, really pay attention, I started to see what my clients wanted. what they needed, what they were responding to, and what they were willing to pay for, what would actually build a sustainable future. So I made a hard choice, one of the hardest choices of my entire career. I cut the fighting programs. I cut the cage. I cut the ring. I cut the whole damn identity I thought the gym was supposed to be. And I rebuilt it as Rage Fitness. Not fast, not loud, not flashy, not rushed, but methodical, purpose-driven, intentional. The second I made that shift, that directional shift, everything changed. Clients returned, revenue stabilized, membership grew. The culture strengthened. The mission became clear again, because direction always beats speed. Always. You can run faster than everyone else, but if you're running the wrong way, all that speed does is get you lost quicker. I had to learn this in business the same way I learned it in the Marine Corps. Purpose first, direction second, action third. Get those in the wrong order, you're screwed. But when they're aligned, when you're calm, when you're clear, when you're willing to move slow but correctly, everything starts to line up. And Rage Fitness became exactly what it was supposed to be. Not because I sprinted to success, but because I finally listened to the mission, the clients, and the deeper purpose behind what I was building. And that's why direction matters more than speed. Because speed fades, speed burns out, speed blinds you. But direction builds empires. Chapter 10. When your goals become your identity. When you look back on your life, you won't remember the days you stayed comfortable. You won't remember the times you played it safe. You won't remember the years you drifted along with no direction. You'll remember the moments you changed, the moments you decided, the moments you evolved. Every one of those moments started with a goal. Not a cute little goal you wrote down in a notebook. Not a New Year's goal you forgot by February. Not a moment of hype goal you brag about on social media. But the kind of goal that becomes your identity. The Marines taught me the difference between having goals and being shaped by them. When you're 17 and flying blind like I was, you think you know everything. You think the world will bend to your attitude. You think discipline is optional and consequences are temporary. Then one day life smacks you so hard that you realize you were never in control. The only thing you truly controlled were your choices, and I wasn't making good ones. Boot camp humbled me. Infantry school humbled me more. Japan knocked me down. Combat stripped everything else away. What was left wasn't the boy who walked into those yellow footprints. What was left was the man the Corps forced me to become, because it demanded goals, direction, purpose, and discipline every single day. You didn't survive by luck. You didn't progress by accident. You didn't progress by accident. You didn't wing it. You learned to set goals like your life depended on it, because sometimes it did. When your goals become your identity, they don't fade when life gets hard. They get louder. That's the difference between the people who succeed and the people who shrink. Most people start strong and crumble the moment they hit resistance, the moment they get tired, the moment they get scared, the moment progress slows down. When your goals become who you are, you keep going even when your body hurts, even when life punches you in the gut, even when nobody sees you grinding behind the scenes, even when fear tells you to stop, even when comfort tries to pull you back. You keep going because stopping is no longer an option for you. Stopping would mean going against your own identity. Direction beats speed every time. I used to think everything had to happen fast. I used to think the faster I moved, the more successful I'd be. That mindset destroyed opportunities, relationships, plans, and ideas because I wasn't patient enough to let things grow. Rage boxing and fitness is a perfect example. I thought boxing was the direction because I loved it. I thought fighters would elevate the gym. I thought excitement meant growth. What it really meant was chaos and stress and losing money and losing clients and losing the love I had for the sport. Your identity is built in the dark long before anyone sees the results. People see the gym now. People see the brand. People see the lifestyle. People see the discipline. People see the leadership. People see the consistency. But they didn't see the shivers and fevers from pushing through sickness. They didn't see the nights I stayed at the gym until 10 p.m. and woke up again at 3:30 a.m. They didn't see the years of passing out flyers in neighborhoods with my kids. They didn't see the times I questioned myself. They didn't see the nights I prayed for direction. They didn't see the stress. They didn't see the pain. They didn't see the losses. But those dark moments are where identity is formed. Those dark moments are where goals become real. Those dark moments are where the knight's armor is forged. Goals aren't about achieving, they're about becoming. Becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming more stable, becoming more disciplined, becoming more resilient, becoming more dangerous to the version of you that used to quit. Every chapter of this book led to this truth. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your habits, your discipline, and your goals. And when those goals become part of your blood, you stop drifting, you stop breaking, you stop doubting, you stop quitting, you become aligned, you become focused, you become unstoppable. Your goals are the armor you wear into life. They protect you, they guide you, they sharpen you, they build you. They give you direction when everything else feels chaotic. They give you a reason to rise when the world tells you to stay down. They give you purpose when life tries to make you numb. As long as you keep moving, slow, steady, deliberate, you will hit your target. Not because you're perfect, not because you're lucky, not because you're gifted, but because you built yourself into the kind of person who follows through. Closing words. This book isn't about goal setting the way the world teaches it. It's all about becoming the type of human being who refuses to live without direction. A person who understands that every goal, big or small, is another piece of the armor you wear. And when that armor is built right, when you build it intentionally, when you build it through discipline, purpose, and pain, you become unstoppable, not because of the goal, but because of who you become on the way to it. Epilogue. The armor you carry forward. If you've made it to this point, you're not the same person who started this book. Maybe you didn't feel the shift happening. Maybe you didn't notice the weight you were shedding. Maybe you didn't realize the armor you were building, but it's there, and you feel it. Because every principle in these pages wasn't written to entertain you. It was written to challenge you, to strip away the excuses, to expose the weak spots, to force you to look in the mirror and decide what kind of person you want to be when life comes at you swinging. I didn't write this book from a classroom. I didn't write it from a seminar stage. I didn't write it from a place of comfort. I wrote it from a lifetime of taking punches. From the streets, from combat, from business, from failure, from life itself. I wrote it from scars, not theories. From truth, not trends. From experience, not ego. Every chapter you just listened to, every lesson you just absorbed, every insight you just felt is a piece of armor that I've worn myself. Armor I bled for. Armor I paid for in time, pain, growth, and sacrifice. And now I'm passing it on to you. But the armor only works if you wear it. You can listen to all the motivational books in the world. You can watch all the inspirational videos. You can listen to every speech, every mentor, every podcast. But if you don't put this armor on every day, if you don't wake up with purpose, if you don't hold yourself to a higher standard, if you don't take responsibility for your actions, if you don't move with direction instead of speed, if you don't embrace being uncomfortable, if you don't shut out the noise and stay locked in, then this book is just ink on paper. The Knight's Armor principles aren't just a mindset. They're not cute. They're not trendy. They're not meant to hype you up for 24 hours. They're meant to change the way you operate for the rest of your life. At the end of the day, you're building you. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to drag you off the couch. Nobody is coming to hand you discipline or direction. Nobody is coming to give you purpose. You must build that. You must forge that. You must earn that. That's what this entire journey has been about. Not perfection, not speed, not applause. Just direction, just purpose, just growth, just becoming the person you were meant to be. This is not the end, it's the ignition. If these principles did their job, something inside you woke up. Something inside you tightened your grip. Something inside you sat up straighter and said, "All right, it's time." Good, because you're not done. You're just getting started. The person you're becoming beyond this point. The person who stays committed when others quit. The person who moves with purpose when others rush. The person who stands tall when life hits hard. That person is already inside you. This book didn't create them. It just reminded you they were there. Now go build your life like it's a mission. Walk with purpose. Act with discipline. Think with clarity. Move with direction. Stay armored. Stay hungry. Stay focused. Stay dangerous. And when the world underestimates you, good. They won't underestimate you for long. Because once your goals become part of your identity, once your direction becomes non-negotiable, once your armor is locked in, there is no version of you that fails. This is your time, your climb, your mission, your legacy. Go earn it. About the author. Kenny Knight is a retired U.S. Marine Corps and Army combat veteran who overcame the trauma of war, personal hardship, and life-altering adversity to becoming a business owner, founder, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and mentor coach. Today, he empowers students across the country with raw, real-life stories of struggle, growth, and triumph. This has been The Power of Purpose, The Knight's Honor Principles, Volume 5, Goal Getter's Code, by Kenny Knight III. Read by Rick Gines.